Hey all, here OS Reviews. Today we're taking a closer look at the Exfit BCS-T90. These are true wireless buds, which sell for under $70, and they're from Exfit, a company which is based in South Korea. What makes these interesting is it first of all comes with a companion application for both iOS or Android, and it allows you to change things like the equalizer. You can also use it to record voice memos, in addition to control and change things like what the touch buttons will correspond to, which is pretty neat. So it offers a bit more customization than the typical budget pairs of TWS buds we've seen perhaps in the past. It also comes with support with Qualcomm's aptX, so offers pretty low latency and also has fast charging as well, with around 10 hours of battery life for the buds when you remove them from the case, which is pretty long. They do also have a wearing detection sensor, and the music can be automatically paused or resumed whenever you pop them back in or out. Inside here we have just the Exfit T90s themselves, and accessories include a quick user manual in addition to two spare silicone tip sizes to get a more custom fit, and also a charging cable which is using a modern USB Type-C. So taking a closer look at the battery case here, first of all, this is a very petite and compact design. It's super easy to slide into a pocket when you're on the go and traveling. Here it is next to the Apple AirPods, just as a quick comparison right away. These are kind of pill-shaped, but the overall dimensions are actually very similar. The bottom here features a USB Type-C port for charging, an LED notification light which will glow when it's being charged, and on the front of the body there's also two additional lights which will glow when you open it up and begin pairing, and also when you're charging, they can turn individual colors to tell you the battery charge remaining on the left and right sides independently. So for example, if it's yellow on one side, it means that the left side bud, for example, is at around 50% charge, whereas if it's green over here, it means the right side has reached 90 to 100%. Now the door here is magnetic, and whenever you open them up, the buds basically automatically begin connecting to your device. So it's a very fast and seamless process. The inside door here also has a rubber accent. Now the design of the buds themselves I also find to be pretty unique compared to many of the other cheaper or more generic buds on the market, and that's because they actually have a slight curved design to them, which is more evident if we pop them out of the case. You can see here they have an angle which is concurved and just looks really sleek and modern. Almost reminds me of a futuristic comma or a parentheses. The back here has a slightly different coarse material compared to the glossy front, but as a whole, even though they are made out of plastic, it still feels pretty solid and doesn't feel cheap at all. And on the side here, we can see this is the proximity sensor, or using IR lights to detect if you're wearing them or not. Now there's actually 4 microphones in total as well. There's 2 pointed at the stem closer to your mouth and 2 towards the top, which helps with the background noise reduction. It doesn't have active noise cancellation per se, so for listening to music it doesn't have that ANC function, but when you are making phone calls it helps to improve the quality a little bit. Now this entire surface here is actually touch sensitive, and it actually works really quite well, and as aforementioned there's a companion app that we'll take a closer look at in a moment, which allows you to change the controls, for example remapping what a double versus a single tap will do. Now as a quick size comparison, here are the T90s next to Apple's AirPods, which you can see that the stem of the T90s is a little shorter and overall a slightly more compact there, but the thickness and overall weight are pretty par on par. Okay, so before we dive into a discussion on the performance and audio quality, I wanted to show you guys the companion app first, and as aforementioned it's simply called the Mate. You can find it both for iOS or Android, and one thing I do want to clear up is when you're using this application, the first step is actually going into settings on your phone and turning on Bluetooth and connecting to the buds, the T90s, from the Bluetooth settings first. And then you launch into the application and you should see it connected. If you try to open up the app before connecting to the buds, you won't be able to proceed. So that's a quick clarification. Afterwards, this is the interface. It's pretty clean and you're able to see both sides of the buds in terms of their battery life remaining. You can control the volume here using a slider. In the case of Android, it also gives you a widget. When you exit out of the application, it can be a floating window so that you can still access some quick shortcuts and controls, even when you leave and go into some other app, which is kind of neat. Down below here, we have 4 equalizers that you can select from. So the catalog isn't the richest, and there is currently no support for a custom EQ, but the selection here I think is fair, and it does truly make a difference whenever you switch back and forth between them. There is the signature sound, which is basically the one that Exfit have tuned themselves. There's kind of a normal or neutral sound. There's one which emphasizes the bass and lower frequency, and vice versa, one which emphasizes the treble. And down below here, we can take a look at settings. What this does is I can change the voice prompts, the voice commands that you hear inside of the buds, from English and Korean, so it gives you an option there, which is kind of neat. There's also a autoplay that you can adjust. So for example, you can turn on the autoplay or pause function whenever you pop these in or out of your ears, or you can also select it so that it begins playing only when a single bud is being worn, or you can set a requirement for both buds to be worn before it automatically resumes. And this works with YouTube, it works with music, any app that has audio playing back. For user button controls, again, a single tap right now is used for play pause. It goes all the way up to triple tap for skipping between different songs, and a long tap for changing the volume up or down. Finally, in terms of device settings, this is the part that I do really like, is that they also push over the air updates to these buds, which can do things like improve the audio quality slightly. 2 more features I want to highlight, one which is called Find My Buds. This one is not using, say, geotagging or maps like on Apple's AirPods, but rather it uses sound for you to locate it. Whenever you activate this, basically it makes a loud noise on the buds themselves, so if you've dropped them, say, on the couch or on the floor, you can actually find them as long as you're relatively nearby and can still hear that sound. So it pushes the volume all the way up. Let's do a quick demo of that. It will last for 3 minutes, and tap. And you can hear the audio there start to get gradually louder and louder. Now, voice memos is also kind of neat. It is just a integrated function inside of the app which allows you to record voice notes using the noise-canceling microphones from the buds themselves. It's also a good way to demo what the audio quality of the mics are like. Memo function using the microphones on the Exfit TWS buds. How does it sound? So that was actually recorded in a room with a little bit of fan noise in the background that was humming, the AC turned on, and a little bit of background chatter, but the voice still sounded pretty clean and clear, but not anything too fancy like transcription or voice to text isn't supported, but a nice little function tucked away under settings. Now moving into a discussion about the sound quality, overall I am impressed with the T90s in terms of their clarity. I would say the mids and trebles is where these really shine, so if you're listening to acoustic tracks, anything with vocals or higher frequencies, it's just super crisp and clean sounding. Even as you play and pause a track, everything still sounds really smooth and very delicate, full of detail, which is awesome. One thing I will say is they're not the most bass heavy in the world, at least in the default mode, but as aforementioned, the built-in equalizers do make a difference. So if you use the bass boosted mode, it does crank it up considerably, and you can definitely still hear and feel the kick of a drum beat as it plays along in a song. So overall, I do like the EQ adjustment options that they give you, and personally I would say that the normal mode / the bass mode are the 2 which I find to be the best. Because it's using a very good Qualcomm aptX chip, it also offers no issues at all when it comes to connectivity. The left and right sides were firmly paired together even as I was walking around, never got disconnected from the phone either. And that's more or less it for our hands-on review of the Exfit T90 True Wireless Buds. Overall, they are very stylish, but also pack a good amount of functionality, such as the proximity sensor, which is often missing at this price point. If you're interested in listening to genres like pop music, acoustic music, for watching podcasts and videos, these actually shine really, really well. Even though they have a few potential shortcomings, one of them being that the battery life of the battery case is a little on the shorter side in terms of only supplying 1.5 charges, but again, for 10 hours when you remove them, the battery built into the buds themselves is already on the pretty long side. You can check out more details if you're interested in the links down below, but for now that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Exfit BCS-T90.